I pulled into my own driveway and froze. My beach house lights were on. I saw her car. My chest tightened. I knew Carol's laugh. I knew her step. But that night something felt wrong. She had a guest, a man she called coworker. I parked 2 houses down and watched. I sat in the dark, hands on the wheel, heart steadying like a drum. I told myself to wait. I told myself to be calm. But inside, I was already planning what I would do next. I wasn't ready to leave, and I wasn't ready to forgive either. My name is Victor. I am 37. I live in Houston. I grew up here. The block smells like fried fish on Sundays and fresh-cut grass in June. Neighbors wave from their porches. Kids run until the streetlights buzz on. My house sits close to the water. It's a modest beach house. It creaks in the wind. It smells of salt and old wood. The floors are warm in the morning. The couch is worn at the edges, the way a home shows life. Carol and I had routines. I woke early. I made coffee. She kissed my cheek before work. We ate dinner together most nights. We watched the news. She liked old gospel on Sundays. I liked the quiet after. We laughed at stupid shows. We argued about small things. She worked at a marketing firm downtown. She talked about clients. I listened. I tried to be the calm anchor. I fixed the faucet, the screen door, the lawnmower. I held her when she cried. I told myself I loved her with a steady voice. There were small moments that meant everything. Her hands on my chest when the thunder hit. Her leaving me a note on the fridge when I was late. Her calling my mom by name. The cookouts where cousins sat on plastic chairs and told the same stories over. The pastor's wife who would hug me and say, "Victor, you good?" I was good. Mostly. The house had a rhythm. The fridge hummed. The AC clicked on in the heat. The curtains moved in the breeze from the bay. At night the moon spilled silver on the porch. Carol would come home, sometimes late. She smelled like perfume and the city. Sometimes her phone buzzed and she would step outside to talk. I would stand in the doorway and watch the street. I always told myself not to worry. I trusted her. But in the weeks before that night, small things strayed. A towel on the floor that wasn't ours. A laugh that lasted longer than normal. A lipstick mark on a glass I did not recognize. It was easy to tell myself nothing. Still, a man can feel when something shifts. I felt a tiny crack in the glass of our life. It grew overnight. The crack was small, but I could see light through it. At first I blamed work. I blamed stress. Carol had long days. She brought home takeout in styrofoam boxes. She came through the door like a storm and then softened into someone I knew. I would watch her from the kitchen. She would talk on the phone in whispers. Yes, that meeting moved. I can't tonight. Her thumb would scroll faster than any message should. She smiled at that phone like it held something private and soft. One night she changed her voice. It was quieter on the phone. It was different when she laughed, not bad, just new. She wore a blouse I had not seen. It was sharper. She fixed her hair twice before leaving. At dinner she chewed slowly and looked past me. "You okay?" I asked. Her eyes darted. "Yeah, baby, I'm fine." Her smile was slow. I wanted to let it go. I wanted to sleep. We had small fights. I would say, "Why you acting different?" She would say, "You always worry too much." "You good?" I asked more than once. The phone would buzz in the bedroom. Her hand would go for it like a reflex. Once I caught her hiding the screen with her palm. She apologized afterward and said her coworker needed help. I believed it. I am a calm man. I want to trust. Trust is a muscle I work. People in the neighborhood noticed. My cousin Malik called one evening. "Bro, she out late." He said it like he was checking a report. He is blunt. I told him she was at a team dinner. He said nothing. The pastor's wife came by with potato salad and stayed longer than usual. She watched Carol with eyes that measure pain. I kept my face smooth. I did not tell them I had a worry nestling in my ribs. A red flag came like a small stone into a glass. Carol started leaving early in the mornings. She would kiss me on the cheek, say she was off to a client, then step outside for a call. The tone of her texts changed. Quick words, emojis that felt like secrets. One morning I saw a message pop up before she flipped the phone down. "See you tonight, bring the key." I felt the world tilt. I tried to confront gently. "You got another key to the beach house." I asked once when she told me she would be there after work. She hesitated. No, a coworker needs the space for a shoot. Her voice was light. Oh, okay, my heart thudded. She kept saying things that fit the story. She kept moving things around our house like she was rearranging truth. She started to guard her phone. She put a password on it she had never had before. The more I watched, the more the silence spoke. The late-night baths she took with the lights dimmed. The laughter from the living room that stopped when I opened the door. A receipt for dinner tucked in a drawer with two names I did not know. New cologne on her scarf that didn't smell like the ones I knew. She would come home and the air would taste differently. My hands would tremble when I picked up a cup she had touched. I tried to be calm. I wore a face like a coat. I began to record small things. I wrote dates in my notes app. May 12 late, May 15 new blouse, May 19 see you tonight. My chest tightened each time I added a note. I began to notice the pattern. Patterns are honest in their repetition. They tell you the truth in a way words hide. One night I drove by the beach house and saw a man's car I did not know. It parked behind Carol. The light in the living room was warm. I sat with the engine off. My breathing slowed. I told myself to be patient. I told myself not to ruin what we had without proof. My hands tightened on the steering wheel until the knuckles went white. I waited and watched. The man came out laughing with Carol. He wrapped an arm around her like they belonged to one another. They did not see me. I turned off the car and watched them through the rearview. My jaw ached. She looked at him like I had never seen her look at me. For a moment the world narrowed to three bodies, him, her, and me watching. My reflection on the glass looked tired and old. I did not move. I swallowed hard. The night smelled of salt and diesel. A dog barked nearby. The laugh I heard came from two people who had something in common I had not been given. I had seen enough to be afraid, but not enough to break the glass. The night I decided to know, the house was quiet. Carol had left for a late client. The TV hummed in the background. I sat at the kitchen table with the lamp on low. The light made the papers on my desk look like small islands. I told myself the plan was simple. I would look. I would not explode. I would find proof. I would not yell. I am calm by nature. Calm is a weapon I learned to use. I watched her jacket on the chair. I watched the coffee mug in the sink. I watched the doorway. Then I saw an email on her open laptop. She had left it unlocked. The subject line read, "Tonight, thanks for the space." My breath hitched. I opened it. The sender was a name I had not seen. He called himself James. The message had a time, a place, a mention of your warm towel and that laugh. I read it twice. My hands shook like leaves. I did not go upstairs. I sat until my heart slowed. I scanned the laptop for more, photos, messages, a calendar with blocked hours labeled shoot. I found receipts. A dinner paid for by an unknown card. I found a note, key under mat, 9:30. I felt cold. The house suddenly echoed. The fridge hummed like a far-off engine. My mouth went dry. I could have walked out then. I could have burned their world in a minute, but I wanted clarity. I wanted more than a feeling. I wanted proof that could stand in court and in the mouths of family. I printed the emails. I made screenshots. My hands were steady now. I moved slow. Slow felt like control. Control felt like dignity. In the living room, a cup with lipstick sat on the side table. It had two rings on the rim. The lipstick shade matched a tone in Carol's bag. I picked up the cup and smelled it. It smelled like her perfume and something else, cheap whiskey. I swallowed hard. I could hear her voice in my head saying, "You worrying too much." I laughed quietly and then a small sob slipped out. My throat tightened. There was a key. I found it taped under the porch mat. The neighbor's cat walked by like it did not care about human collapses. I held the key and thought about all the years I had put into this house. I thought about who I had been. I thought about the kids we had not yet had. My chest ached. I felt the floor steady beneath my feet. I told myself to get it together. I drove to the beach house that night. The moon hung heavy and low. Waves slapped the sand. The tide smelled like old coins. I unlocked the door and it opened with a soft groan. The living room was lit by a lamp. Towels were draped over the back of a chair. A jacket was thrown like it had been dropped in haste. Two wine glasses were on the coffee table. One still had lipstick on the rim. I reached for my phone and my hand trembled. I set the printed emails on the table. I walked through the rooms like a man seeing his life in someone else's film. In the bedroom, a scarf I had given Carol lay balled on the pillow. There were 2 toothbrushes in the cup, a mundane detail that cut deep. The bathtub water line was high as if someone had left in a hurry. I stood very still and listened. I could hear the muffled music from a bar far off. My body kept its calm. Inside, I felt a volcano. Then I heard the shower drain. A key turned at the door. Laughter drifted from the hallway. My name was not called. The footstep pattern said 2 people. I stepped into the doorway and they did not see me at first. Carol's face when she looked up was the worst and the clearest thing I have ever seen. Surprise, then shame, then fear. The man James turned slowly. He saw me. There was a beat of silence that tasted like iron. My hands gripped the doorframe. My breath was shallow. My heart hammered against ribs like a trapped bird. I felt every year I had been patient, every hand I had held, every promise I had made. In that stillness, something shifted. It was not loud. It was a setting of something inside me that had been waiting. I was careful with my voice, though. My voice wanted to break. I said, "We need to talk." Carol looked like she wanted to melt. James opened his mouth and then closed it. The water from the tub ticked on the tiles. I felt small. And then I felt large in a way I had not before, like a man who had finally remembered himself. That night, I realized everything was about to change. I could have yelled, I could have made a scene, I did not. I walked out, closed the door, and drove home. The sky was not kind that night. Clouds masked the moon. My hands were steady on the wheel. I needed a plan. Rage felt like noise. I would use quiet. Back home, I spread the papers on the kitchen table. Every email, screenshot, and receipt became a small weapon. I photographed the wine glasses. I recorded the messages. Evidence is the thing that holds weight. Feelings are wind. Proof is rock. I gathered both. Step 1, collect proof. I backed up her phone screenshots onto a separate drive. I used the printed emails as anchors. I saved location tags. I saved timestamps. I made files with neat names. May 12 dinner, May 19 key. I felt like a man building a case in small, tidy steps. Each file felt like a brick. Step 2, protect assets. I had accounts joint and separate. I transferred a few funds quietly. I changed passwords I had shared. I made copies of titles and put them in a safe deposit box at the bank under my name. It was not about punishment yet. It was about ensuring I would not be left with nothing. I thought of the future and wanted it to have firm ground. Step 3, play the part. I kept my face warm at family gatherings. I poured drinks and laughed. I hugged Carol like nothing was wrong. I looked her in the eye and told stories about work. I pretended to watch the game and cheer. Inside, I built a map of my next moves. Acting normal felt like a cloak. They could not know how wide open I felt beneath it. I called Malik and asked him to keep an ear out. Malik nodded like a man I could trust. "Victor, don't do anything dumb," he said. He meant protect yourself. I agreed. I had enough. I had the calm to move. I hired an attorney discreetly. The man's voice over the phone was precise. "Keep everything. Don't delete messages. Don't post anything. Let me handle the legal pieces." I listened. Rules felt good. The law wants documents. I had them. I followed the lawyer's instructions like gospel. I felt the power of structure behind my pain. Days moved and I watched Carol. She noticed me watching. She softened sometimes and looked guilty. Other times she walked with pride like a woman who had made a bold choice. I recorded the subtle things. I paid for small surveillance on the beach house, legal, restrained. The footage was grainy at first, but it showed meetings, cars, and faces. It was enough. I told myself not to be cruel. I told myself we were 2 humans who had made a mess. But I also told myself I would not be erased. I would not be the man who lost everything quietly. There is a shame in being a man who takes only pain. I wanted to be a man who took back his story. At night I lay awake and thought about conversations to come. I rehearsed my voice. I practiced staying calm. I wrote letters to myself. No shouting, no threats, just clear statements. I deserve truth. I will protect my future. I will not be broken. Friends noticed a shift. My sister said I seemed colder. The pastor's wife crossed herself in church the Sunday after I found the emails. She prayed for me with her eyes wet. My mother called and asked if everything was okay. I lied and said yes. I could not carry their worry too. I needed them to be whole. One afternoon I walked into the bank and signed a line I had been avoiding. The clerk smiled. I smiled back. Money shifted. Documents moved. I felt the tiny mechanical clicks of the plan falling into place. It was not pretty. It was efficient. The hardest piece was pretending to be fine when Carol sat near me on the couch. She would talk about small things, her favorite song, a new client, a coworker's baby shower. I would nod. Her hand brushed mine. I let it. There was a war inside me. One side wanted to burn it all. The other wanted dignity. I chose dignity. I watched her laughter and felt it as a slap. I listened to her stories and wrote them down like evidence. I kept calm. I kept planning. The more I gathered, the less I felt like a victim and more like a man with options. Options bring power. Power brings peace. Finally, the day came. I had what I needed. I had proof that could not be wished away. I had legal counsel ready. I had the house title safe. I had my heart steady. The man who would confront Carol was not the same as the one who sat in the car that night. He had been reshaped by loss and resolve. The day I chose to confront her, I was no longer the same man. I picked a quiet evening. It was not a holiday. It was not our anniversary. It was a night she thought ordinary. I wanted her raw. I wanted her unprepared. I had the printed emails on the table in a manila folder. I had the surveillance stills on my phone. I sat at the kitchen table and waited. The light was soft. The air smelled like dinner. Carol came in humming. Her shoulders were relaxed. She shrugged out of her coat. "Hey," she said. She reached for me like nothing happened. I stood and poured 2 glasses of water. I wanted my voice to be steady. I put the folder on the table and slid it toward her like a plate. She smiled at first. "What's that?" she asked. Her fingers touched the manila and briefly recoiled. I saw the old play of denial in her eyes. I wanted to break something with a shout. I breathed slow. "I found these," I said softly. "I found the messages, the dates, the key, the receipts." My voice was quiet. It carried weight. She blinked. Her mouth opened and closed. "Victor," she started. Her voice shook. I kept my face even. "You lied to me," I said. The words landed like stones. She looked away. Her hands trembled. "I didn't mean," she said. Her sentences stacked and fell apart. I had the surveillance stills up on my phone. I tapped them open and set the screen between us. The image of her with James was there, grainy and clear. Her posture said everything. She sat down hard. Tears came. Denial fell into explanation. "It wasn't like that," she said. "It was just," she searched for words. "I was lonely. I felt seen. We were talking." Her voice slipped into smaller pieces. I listened. I felt anger and pity at the same time. "You took my trust," I said. "You took our life's small things and you traded them for secrets." My voice was low. The neighbor's sound filtered through the thin walls. The city hummed beyond our glass. She covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook. She tried to place blame. "You were always tired. You weren't home. You don't understand my job." She flung phrases like nets. I did not take them. I had facts. Facts do not need rhetoric. Facts stand up. "You will have to leave the house," I said. The words were smooth. She looked up like I had slapped her. "What?" she whispered. "You can stay a week," I offered. "2 if you need." My lawyer's voice was in my ear like a reminder. "Protect what is yours." She laughed, a brittle sound, and then sobbed. Family came later. Malik sat with me and watched her pack a few things. My mother's eyes were glossy but steady. The pastor's wife did not say much, but her hand on my shoulder felt like absolution. The community watched. Rumors began to hum like wasps. People asked questions in the grocery line. Some said I should have handled it differently. Others nodded when they saw the printouts. Carol tried to argue the house. "We bought this together," she spoke fast. "I let my attorney answer when it needed answering. The law is a language, I learned to speak it. The title was clear. Her name had not been on the mortgage in a way that would keep her here. I felt the legal hinges click. The practicalities were cold. They were necessary." She collapsed into me at one moment, weeping. "I'm sorry," she said. "I made a mistake." Her words were thin. I could hear the church memories in her apology. I could hear the small child she used to be. For a second, something in me wanted to hold on. I wanted the life we had played at to come back, but apologies can't erase patterns. They do not undo nights. The confrontation did not end with shouting. It ended with quiet decisions. I gave her options with a steady voice. She sobbed. She left that night with a suitcase and a face that looked smaller than before. Outside, the street was still. I walked her to the car and watched her go. The door shut. It felt like a final sound. As she left, she turned and our eyes met. There was pleading there, regret, fear. She mouthed something that could have been, "I'm sorry." I nodded once. I did not call her back. I watched the tail lights vanish into the black. She knew she had already lost. What came after was not sudden. It was a slow unwinding. The community had their opinions. Some cheered, some whispered. Carol's career at the firm changed. The man James was named in emails that turned up in HR. The company did what companies do. They launched an inquiry. I did not celebrate the ruin. I accepted the justice that the evidence earned. The law and workplace rules tightened their nets. Family lines moved. My mother came by more. She brought casseroles and soft words. Malik sat with me on the porch and smoked and told me the same jokes that have always made me laugh. The pastor's wife called to check on me. I began to sleep better. The house that had felt like a stage for a lie became mine again. It smelled of lemon cleaner and old wood. The creeks were the same as before, but I noticed things I had not seen. A sunrise over the bay that was quietly perfect. Legally, Carol's claims were thin. The documents I had saved and the careful steps I had taken made the case clear. The house stayed where it belonged. She lost access to many of the joint accounts we had opened. She moved in with an aunt in another part of town. The community's whispers followed her for a while. People are loud. Time quiets them. Her regret showed in small ways. She called once and left a voicemail that said, "I'm sorry, I don't expect anything." It was a soft thing. I did not answer. She came to a family event months later and stood in the back. She looked smaller. People looked away. Life kept moving. For me, the final revenge was not about cruelty. It was about reclaiming what I had lost. I took back peace. I took back a sense of self. I cleaned the house like a man who wanted to breathe again. I sold some of the furniture we had picked together. I kept the things that felt like me. I started running again at dawn. I reconnected with friends I had let fade. I learned how to be alone and not lonely. There were nights I thought about forgiveness. Forgiveness is heavy. It does not mean forgetting. It means choosing your path forward. I chose a path that started with boundaries. I changed my phone number. I changed the locks. I worked with my lawyer to protect my name and assets. The practical things were a balm. The community healed in time. People laugh again at the cookouts. New gossip sparks, then dies. My house sometimes hosts neighbors for fish fry and laughter. The porch light is on most nights. I sit with a cup of coffee and watch the bay. I see my reflection in the water and remember a man who survived. Carol rebuilt her life in parts. I heard she got another job. I heard she went back to school. Regret and consequence are teachers. I do not wish harm on her. I wish clarity. But there is comfort in knowing truth held up. My friends call it revenge. I call it justice done the only way I knew how, slow, steady, and calm. I reclaimed dignity. I reclaimed my home. I reclaimed my life. The sunrise after felt like a small, honest thing. If you are watching this and you feel like your world is shifting, listen to me. Trust your sense. Gather proof, not chaos. Protect your future without burning everything in anger. You do not need to be loud to be strong. Calm is a weapon. Strategy is dignity. Betrayal breaks you in a way that feels endless. It also wakes you. I learned that pain can teach. I learned that patience and planning keep you whole. I learned to hold my head high when the world watched. People will have opinions. Let them. Live by facts. Build your life with steady hands. Forgiveness may come later. For now, choose truth. Choose security. Choose yourself. I am Victor. I am 37. I am still standing. The house is still mine. The bay still breathes. Life went on. It got quieter and kinder. It made room for me again. If you're going through this, be smart. Be calm. Protect what matters and remember, you deserve the truth.